So the title of this talk today, you may have seen it, was, or is, An Auspicious Day. And this is the title of the sutta, but it is only one of the translations of the sutta, and I'll tell you the other translation. So this sutta is called Bada Ekarata Sutta. Bada means auspicious, fortunate, good, or Eka means one, and Rata, and here's where the different modern translators like to debate in the way that they do what this Rata means. And one translation of the word Rata means attachment. So if you translate it in that way, and that's the way it is in that book that I just held up, Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation is one fortunate attachment. I find that very provocative. Like, what? Haven't we learned everything? Isn't it all like we're not supposed to be attached to anything? What's this one fortunate attachment? So that translation is a little exciting because it's quite like provocative. Like, what? What is it? What's the one fortunate attachment? I want to read the sutta right now. I'm going to go with one auspicious day because I really rolled it around and tried to like, what? And I get it, but it doesn't, my mind gets too confused around it. I can't really make sense of that translation for myself right now. I really love Thanissaro Bhikkhu, Tanjef. He's a monastic who actually teaches in Portland quite a lot at the Friends of the Dharma Center. And his translation is one auspicious day. And I do think I forgot the first page of the sutta, but I think we can piece it together. One auspicious day. I'm going to read the sutta, and when it comes to the second part of the sutta, I'll probably pause here and there and get in there. What does this mean? And then talk a little bit about the invitations and how to practice and how I've been making sense of this teaching for myself. So the page I'm missing, we'll have to paraphrase. Something like, "Dear bhikkhus, we were all sitting with the Buddha in the grove of all the practitioners, and the Buddha said, 'I want to tell you something.' And all of the bhikkhus said, 'Okay, we're ready to listen.'" Every sutta starts like that. Actually, we could find it right here. How cool is that? So this is 131. Open your textbooks. It's very small writing. Okay, here we go. We'll paraphrase the sutta later, but let's give it its due as we read it. And actually, the word rata, I'm just seeing it here, is interesting. In here it says a single excellent night. Rata actually means night, but in the Pali tradition, the word night usually meant a 24-hour period. So we're calling it a day. 1039. Aha, okay. "Thus I have heard," this is much better. "On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus," and bhikkhus is all of us, monastics, but anyone practicing. "Venerable Sir," they replied, "the Blessed One said this: 'Bhikkhus, I shall teach you the summary and exposition of one who has had a single excellent night or day. Listen and attend closely to what I say.' 'Yes, Venerable Sir,' the bhikkhus replied. The Blessed One said this: And I'm going to switch to this translation because this is the one I'm working with now. You shouldn't chase after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is yet unreached. Whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there, not taken in, unshaken. That's how you develop the heart. Ardently doing what should be done today. For who knows? Tomorrow, death. There is no bargaining with mortality and its mighty horde. Whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly, both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. So says the peaceful sage. We do have to go back. It goes on. How, bhikkhus, does one revive the past? One finds delight there thinking, I had such a body in the past. One finds delight there thinking, I had such a feeling in the past. I had such a perception in the past. I had such thoughts in the past. I had such consciousness in the past. This is how one revives the past. And how, bhikkhus, does one not revive the past? One does not find delight there thinking, I had such a material form, I had such a body in the past. One does not find delight there thinking, I had such a feeling in the past. I had such a perception in the past. I had such a formation, thoughts in the past. I had such consciousness in the past. That is how one does not revive the past. And how, bhikkhus, does one build up hope upon the future? One finds delight there thinking, may I have such a body in the future? One finds delight there thinking, may I have such a feeling in the future? May I have such a perception in the future? May I have such thoughts in the future? May I have such consciousness, awareness in the future? That is how one builds up hope upon the future. And how, bhikkhus, does one not build upon hope upon the future? One does not find delight there thinking, may I have such material form, body in the future. One does not find delight there thinking, may I have such feeling in the future. May I have such perception in the future. May I have such thoughts in the future. May I have such consciousness in the future. And this is how one does not build upon hope upon the future. This translation here that I'm working with doesn't use the word hope, but expectations in the future. That's a little different. And so just want to pause here for a moment and talk a little bit about what's going on there with all of this body, feeling, perception that's repeated over and over again. Does anyone know what these are called? Yeah? The 5 aggregates. Yeah, do you know what that word means, aggregate? Bundle, parts of the whole, things clumped together. Is someone saying something online? Oh. Yeah. The Pali word for these aggregates is skandhas or khandhas, and it's basically this thing that we call self. When we look under the hood, we see it's these 5 aggregates, these 5 parts of our experience. There's the body, all of the senses in the body. There's the feeling, And sometimes we hear this called feeling tone, because we can get that word feeling very much confused with emotion. In our culture, we use feelings and emotions synonymously, but this is different. Feeling or feeling tone, and the Pali word is Vedana, and I think it's much easier just to use the Pali word actually. The Vedana is the pleasantness, unpleasantness, neither pleasant or unpleasant reaction in the mind that happens every moment when there's awareness meeting something happening at a sense door, including the mind and heart, which is a sense door of its own in this context, and it's called the chitta. So this thing we call self is actually a makeup of these 5 aggregates. So feeling, and then we have perception, the part of the mind that knows person, light, impermanent, permanent, love, loving, rug, perceiving, what I'm perceiving things to be, how I'm perceiving things to be. This is perception. Mental formations, otherwise known as thoughts, things we think, images we see, ideas, imaginings, memories. These are the mental formations. And then the consciousness, which is this knowing faculty, the awareness, the knowing. So basically, in these first 2 paragraphs here, the Buddha is saying, when he breaks down all of these aggregates, basically, don't wish for a version of yourself in the past. Pleasant or unpleasant, whether it was a good version or a bad version, stay away from it. You're still pulling up an identity from the past. Don't spend all your time fantasizing about who you could be, what you could look like, and what could happen in the future. Some identity of all of this conglomeration of aggregates in the future. Don't do it. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to go on a little bit, but before I go on, I do want to say something. If you're new to these ideas, and even if you're not new to these ideas of this word like aggregates and, okay, myself is really made up of these, the Buddha's about to say, like, no, you're not your body. This is going to be the rest of the sutta. You're not your body, you're not your thoughts, you're not your Vedana, you're not your perception, you're not your consciousness. Okay, and if this is a new idea, I know for me, there are times, and definitely times in the past, when I would first hear these teachings where many different things would happen. One, I would really be trying to figure it out, and it would make no sense to me, and I would just get so tight in the mind. Or I just completely checked out. I'm not listening anymore. I am definitely in past or future kind of fantasy land. I've checked out. Or there can be a real curiosity and wanting to hear. So I just want to name that the mind can go in all these directions when looking at suttas, and it's all good. Can you just be with that? And what I mean by is, can you just honor that? The mind is trying to figure out now, it's getting tight, or the mind is wandering right now. That's okay. It's okay. I think that there's something about, even if it might not make sense right away, just sort of letting these Dharma ideas just wash over. Just relaxing back. Let me just hear these words, not try to figure it out. Yeah. So he's going to now speak about this piece about being taken in. And how is one taken in with regard to present qualities? So now he's not talking about the past and the future anymore. He's talking about, what does this mean to be now in the present moment? Not taken in, unshaken. There is the case where an uninstructed, run-of-the-mill person who has not seen the noble ones, is not versed in the teachings of the noble ones, is not trained in the teachings of the noble ones, sees body, sees form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in self, or self as in the form. Okay? So really what he's saying is you're not your body. Okay, what does that mean? So we might try to say, okay, if I'm going to find what I really am, what the self really is, it's got to be this. It's got to be this body. Okay? And so on one hand, it's your body. Yes, it's not anyone else's body, but it's not completely your body. Your body. And it can't be if you don't have complete control over it, right? There's so much that we can control and support and take care of the body, but ultimately, it's really up to the body, even if we choose what to eat, whether the body will digest it. It's doing its own thing there, right? We can take all the right medicines, but the body will or will not heal. Nothing that you have control over. So that's kind of one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is the body can't be a singular self. That is it. That's where I am, because it's dependent on other conditions. It's dependent on all of the elements of the earth. Our body cannot exist without all of the elements of the earth. So it's mutually dependent on every other thing on this earth to exist. So it can't, if there's any kind of self, it's all of it, then I'm everything, That's one way you could play with it. But so long as something is dependent on something else to exist, then it alone can't be a single identity. Buddha says he or she sees feeling as self, or self, and we can use Vedana, this is the feeling tone, or self as possessing feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling. So here with the Vedana, like I said, we could take the example of, like for instance, you hear a sound. The sound comes together with this aggregate of consciousness, the knowing. This is a moment of contact. This is called contact, when the sound, the sense door organ of the hearing and consciousness come all together in that moment. It's called contact. And immediately following that moment of contact, the mind has a reaction, pleasant, unpleasant, or I can't really say it's pleasant and I can't really say it's unpleasant. It's neither, it's neutral. This is the feeling tone, this is the Vedana, and we don't choose it. It's actually just happening based on past and present conditions. There's no one in there choosing, I'm going to decide that this is pleasant, I'm going to decide that it's immediate. What we do have a choice in is how we respond to that Vedana once we know it. But if I'm not choosing it, if just I hear the sound, immediate reaction, unpleasant, and the Vedana can change. A sound can start as unpleasant and then shift to neutral or even turn pleasant. But still, we're not making that happen. All we can do with awareness, with mindfulness, is decide how to respond to the Vedana. And so too, this Vedana is rising in dependence, like together with the sound, the sense door, the consciousness. It doesn't arise all on its own. It's conditioned by these other things happening. So in itself, it cannot be who I am. If this is making no sense, just let it go, y'all. Just be here. So he goes on with perception. He or she, they see perception as self, or self as possessing perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception. So we could keep going in the same way. Okay, the perception. Okay, I'm going to perceive this moment as, let me perceive this moment. Or in this moment, let's see, I'm perceiving light. Right? That's happening because of seeing and because of awareness. So that moment of perception is being conditioned by other factors. I didn't choose that. It just happened based on all the past and present conditions and associations and knowing light. Right? It knows light. I can, when I be aware of that, play with the perception, not light. What does that do? Or energy. Love, warmth, we can play. We have choice. When we're aware, we can play with perception. And actually, one of my favorite teachers says, this whole path is just playing with perception. We could say that everything we're doing is just playing with perception. What if I perceive things as impermanent? What happens? What happens when I perceive things as not self? I should have fixed this translation earlier, and I apologize, this he-she business. But they see thought fabrications as self, or self as possessing thought fabrications, or thought fabrications as in self, or self as in thought fabrications. So our thoughts become conditioned by the feeling tone, the perception, what's happening all around us. So the thought in itself, if it's being conditioned by other factors, if it's arising together with other factors, it can't be me. We get really confused about this one. I do anyway. It's really hard. This one is the most challenging for me to see when I'm getting caught. It's what's happening is I'm being really identified with what the mind is thinking. A thought arises and I just have to believe it because it's me. It's mine. It belongs to me. It's happening in my mind, so therefore I have to think it. But the good news is once we become aware of that, we can see, no, it too is just arising based on a whole slew of conditions from the past and things arising in the present moment. And when awareness meets that, we get to choose, is this a helpful train of thought or not? And if it's helpful, we can stay with it. If it's not helpful, we have the choice to let it go. I don't have to think this just because it arose in my mind. We get that with like random thoughts. Like, what if I run this red light right now? Like we're not going to actually do that. So I just use that because sometimes I remember having that thought when I was little. Anyway. I know you all have weird thoughts that you see, oh, that's not me, that's mine. Where did that thought come from? That's how they all are, y'all. But some feel really, really real, really, really me, really, really necessary to follow. Especially the inner critic, the doubt, the aversion, the wanting, the hindrances. They tell really good stories that are really believable. We think we have to follow it. So this whole part of the sutta that I'm taking time with here is really what the Buddha is pointing to in this part of be here now. Not just be here now. Be here now doing this, investigating what's happening. And this looking at the aggregates is just one way to investigate what's happening. There's other ways. So the last part here is they see consciousness as self, or self as possessing consciousness, or consciousness as in the self, or self as in the consciousness. Just to say, at first when I was reading those, I'm like, but as I kind of was reading them over and over and over again, it's really interesting to like stay with, and maybe if you ever decide to look at this, it's kind of helpful to see it. And awareness in the self in the awareness. Yeah, different ways of perceiving it, seeing it. So consciousness being this aggregate of knowing, the knowing quality. This one is really tricky. Like, we can think, oh yeah, I can see how I'm not my body. I can see how I'm not my thoughts. I can see how I'm not these perceptions that are arising, this Vedana. But when things get really still, it's so easy to think, this is the true me, this awareness, this knowing. It's really subtle. But it too, so here's the thing, usually when we think that, when we have that idea, that perception, this is the real me, this space of calm, loving awareness, that's the time when we're thinking, this is me. And that particular flavor of awareness, of consciousness, has been conditioned, right? It's coming about because of actions, of feeling tone, of thought, of past and present actions. So it is being conditioned in that particular way. It seems like it's not. But all of those conditions that gave rise to, oh, this is a very spacious, quiet awareness, peaceful. Those conditions that gave rise to that will change. So it can't be who I am. Okay, we're almost through to the sutta. We'll read the whole thing. So how is one not taken in with regards to present qualities? There is the case where a disciple of the noble ones, who has seen the noble ones, is versed in the teachings of the noble ones, is well trained in the teachings of the noble ones, does not see form or body as self, or self as possessing form, or form as self, or self as form. And he goes through that same verse with each of these aggregates. But he comes full circle. He wants you to hear this part again. You shouldn't chase after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is as yet unreached. Whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there, not taken in, unshaken. That's how you develop the heart. Ardently doing what should be done today, for who knows, tomorrow, death. There is no bargaining with mortality and its mighty horde. Whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly, both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. So says the peaceful sage. And they all delighted in the words, is how it was ended. So let's pick it apart a little. What's going on here? I was thinking, how would we put it in our modern vernacular? Like, listen up, y'all. Do you want to know how to use your life or this moment in the most meaningful possible way? Stop wishing you were some version of yourself in the past. Stop playing all of the things that happened to you in the past, all of the ways you wish you could have been in the past. Don't spend all your time obsessing, fantasizing about what's to come, either the bad, horrible things that are to come or the beautiful things that are to come. Be here now with heartfelt, wholehearted, mindful, investigative, loving attention. And wake up, y'all. Because we don't know if tomorrow is coming. The Buddha actually said, even this next breath, contemplate, even this next breath is not given. So wake up. This is your day. You're alive right now. Here we go. How do you want to use this day, this very moment? Practice now. Do it. Don't put it off to tomorrow. And just practice when you remember. And do all the things that help you remember. With ease, with love. Like coming to Sangha, like hearing the teachings, like talking to each other, like practicing. That's this ardency, the relentless. Just keep it going. Keep the flow going. Keep the momentum going. All the things we're doing, let's keep doing them so that we can wake up together. And I just love this title of the sutta, One Auspicious Day. So I just feel like it takes all the pressure off of trying to have some peak experience that's the most auspicious thing. That truly whatever is happening, doesn't matter what's happening in this day. We don't have to travel all around the world or I don't know, we don't have to do anything in particular. It can actually even be a day filled with a lot of pain. And there can still be the sense of auspiciousness when we're practicing in this way. So sometimes when I read suttas like this, or just actually when I'm listening to all the teachings, I try it out with the most challenging thing I could imagine and say, how about that? Would this teaching still hold up in face of that? Because that for me is where, when the Buddha said, check it out for yourself. That's how I check it out. Would I find a sense of relief, a sense of ease in that situation with this teaching? So I kind of did that with this situation, because that's in those situations that I imagined the word auspicious doesn't really work so well. Wouldn't think of some things that cause a lot of pain as fortunate. But I can put myself in those moments of imagining, a painful day, the most painful things. The pain will just be painful. There are things that are just really painful, right? Really, really, really painful. But I can turn a painful situation into torture, self-torture or agony by wishing I had done something differently. There was something I could have done to avoid this happening. What if I just hadn't done that? Or why can't it just be how it was? That takes this pain and turns it into agony, going there, right? Or imagining, I feel this now, how am I ever going to continue? Or how will I feel this way? And that will take this pain and turn it into agony. But staying in the present moment, and in those situations, I'm not going to be investigating the aggregates, y'all. I'm going to be offering compassion, right? So that belongs here too. Okay. But the only place that we can feel compassion is right now, in the present moment. And then I don't know if you've had days like this, where you've had like a whole day off. Oh, I can just make my perfect day, right? I have these every once in a while as a full-time working mom, and I'm like, okay, like yoga, and then journaling, and then coffee, and then hike, and it's my most perfect, you know what I'm talking about. My most perfect day. And then the most humble, there's a period of time when I was really seeing this, that I would be there doing the most perfect yoga practice, thinking about the hike later on. I would be on the hike, like, I had to get back and get to my journal, write about stuff, and I'm writing in the journal. I really could use my rest now. It's just that always thinking about the next thing, missing it. And I was seeing that so much that I just stopped planning event. Like I said, I'll do one thing at a time. We'll start with just yoga, and then what would best support love and awareness and happiness next? And that made it a lot less stressful, because it actually felt very stressful. Like, wow, I can't even enjoy this. A little judgment there, but it brought a good insight, brought a lot of clarity around that. So this part of the sutta where the Buddha says, see clearly right there, not taken in, unshaken. That's how you develop the heart. And then that whole piece that we took time looking at, the aggregates. So this is the heart of it. It's not just be here now. Because what does that even, it's a great book. It's a great book. Love that book. It's a great idea, but it's not the goal of this path. to just be here now in some ambiguous here-ness. No, being here now with wise attention, with all of the parts of the Eightfold Path. But in this sutta, he's asking us to look clearly at how we become identified. So we could just break this down for a moment. How is it that we become identified with something, one part of our experience in a moment? And so we could use the example of a thought like, oh, I really don't want to go do that thing. Okay, really. So that is a thought that arises in the mind. So we could call that in the same way that a sound arises to the sense door of hearing, a thought arises at the sense door of the citta, which is the heart and the mind. Okay, that's the moment, like I said, that's that moment of contact. Immediately after the thought arises, the feeling tone. Okay, unpleasant feeling tone. I really don't want to do that thing. Unpleasant feeling tone arises. And right now, this is all happening the way I'm describing it with no awareness. Unpleasant feeling tone leads to aversion. And I don't like this unpleasant thought, and the aversion starts telling stories. And this is kind of where this aversion, this place is the craving, is the push and pull. In this circumstance, it's not liking, it's So when this starts happening, the mind state has become aversion. Already there's an identification happening, but the thinking mind takes off. There's this word called papancha in the Pali. It's a great word. It means the thought proliferation. I don't want to go do this thing. I can't believe I have to go do this thing. It would be so much better if I could do this other thing. They're going to hate me there anyway. And because I have to do this, then I'm not doing this, and now I'm letting those people down. Blah, blah, blah. I could go on, and we create these. Now we're living in the world of the thought proliferation. We have become identified, and it will translate into our actions, into the way we speak, into the way we show up doing that thing that we don't want to do. Or even just how we're relating to people around us when we're in that mind state. I have to go do that thing. And then we're bringing that energy into the room for the people all around us. So that's how we can track how a moment of identification happens. It's the thought or the whatever sense it is, the feeling tone, to the push and pull, and then the thought proliferation, the papancha, and then we're taking birth in that mind state. And then we're sharing it with the world, right? And so at any moment, awareness can come in anywhere on that chain. It can come in at the moment of the Vedana. Oh, unpleasant. That was an unpleasant thought. Let it go. Just a thought. It can come back to this present moment. Often, good luck with that. It doesn't usually come in at the moment of Vedana, but it absolutely can, and it absolutely will the more we practice. It usually comes in when we're already in the world. We're already identified. We can feel the contraction. We can feel the stress. And then we say, what's going on right now? What's happening? That's a moment of awareness arising. There we go. Great. Whatever. We went through that whole process, and maybe there was a lot of suffering on the way, but it doesn't matter. Whenever we wake up to the present moment is the moment then where we can ask, what's happening right now? In all of these parts of my experience, the body, the perceptions, the view, the mind, how am I relating to it? Am I pushing it away? Doesn't belong? Am I assuming it's permanent? It'll never go away? Am I believing something about self or other or the world that isn't true? Usually, yes. If we're suffering, yes, we are. And so we bring that loving investigation. How am I relating to it? What's not helping here? And then what would be helping? What would help here? Do I need to just take some calming, tranquil breaths? Come back into this moment? Is this a moment to invite in self-compassion? There's infinite skillful ways that we can meet that moment, just throwing in a few examples. So how do we not be taken in? It's just that. Any moment when awareness comes in, we're out of it. We can observe it. Doesn't matter if it goes away. We just see it. And I was noticing this last night when I was putting my kiddo to bed. I was lying down in his bed. He was like doing whatever with jammies and all that. And there was on the wall this cool poster that his baseball coach has put together of all the baseball kids in their uniforms. And there was a moment of the seeing. And then immediately as I was looking at it, there was the memory of all of the years of baseball, and it's over, and it was like, boom, I watched the mind just, like, it was headed off to the land of grief, missing these teams, will never be together again. But because this sutta has been, I've been working with it so much, awareness came, just awareness watched it, and it just went, and there was just a moment of seeing, kind of a light remembering that experience. So I didn't need to push away that memory. It was just like, oh yeah, remembering it, tenderness. But I wasn't taken in. I was like, oh yeah, that feels so nice. Just to have a memory arise, pass. I don't have to go down. And so just to speak a little bit how we do work with thoughts of the past, because they do come up. And they're coming up when? In the present moment, right? So, we can misinterpret this and think like, oh no, I'm really wrong if a thought of the past came into the mind. Like, oh no, I'm in the past. No, we can't control that. We already talked about that, right? We can't control what thoughts arise. So memories come. And it's okay. It's just what's arising in the moment. What the Buddha is saying here is not be taken in, not going to chase after it. So whether the memory is pleasant or unpleasant, it's allowed to just arise, be seen, be known, feel the impact of it on the heart, and dissolve. That's what we're going for. And then I also want to say that the Buddha also did invite us to skillfully bring back memories from the past. So to just put this in the ring here, he said, something skillful to do, for example, is to recollect moments of your past when you've been generous. So this is different than, I want to be that person in the past who was generous, but remember there was that beautiful, skillful action, or how happy it made the other person, and how good I felt, and that this can be a skillful way to gladden the mind. And I think too, with insights, we have these peak experiences with insights, and we can have them in so many different kinds of ways, but they do just become peak experiences if they're just living in the past. So at times it's helpful to remember, especially if we're in a moment of contraction, remember I had that insight into not self. I don't have to believe my thought. Can I put that on as that insight on as glasses right now and look through it at my current experience? Oh, I don't have to believe this thought either. So that's a way of bringing back an insight from the past, putting it on as a way of looking in this present moment. And that can be really skillful. It's really skillful to do that. That's different than chasing after the past, right? And so too with future. I mean, obviously we get excited, we're going on trips, we're going to go do things, we are excited about planning our menu. We plan in the present moment. That's part of what we do. And then there can be a way that is skillful or unskillful. And when I was thinking about this, I was remembering a time a couple of years ago that I was just so excited to go on retreat. Like, it was getting just a lot, and I was really excited to go on retreat. And so this thought would come in all the time, like, oh yeah, 2 weeks, going on retreat. And then I would picture myself on the retreat and all the things I was going to do, and I would picture myself in the hall and what I was going to pack, and I'm chasing out, but it felt very pleasant. I got COVID. I never went on the retreat. Right? And so when I was looking at that, I was like, wow, that tricked me. I thought it was skillful to do that in the moment. But actually, I was using it to avoid all the unpleasant stress that I was feeling in my life right now. It was fantasy. I was actually using it as a way to avoid. So that's kind of something we can think about. Lots of questions come up around this when we talk about planning, but this kind of, we can think about, how do we know when planning in the present moment is skillful or unskillful? I'll just let you figure it out yourself. We only really need to plan something once, right? The mind likes to plan over and over and over and over and over. That's more of the obsession. So just to have like a little micro practice with this right now. Can you remember something you did last week? Just pull it up, a memory of something you did last week. Okay, here it is, a memory of the past in the present moment. And now can you just feel your breath again, your body? Did you see that? That the thought could come in, be here in the present moment, and go without latching on? Did I give you enough time for that to happen? Let's try it with the future. What are you going to do tomorrow? It's one thing you're going to do tomorrow. Okay, now feel your feet, your breath. Yeah, that future thought can come and it can go. And that's how we just very simply allow past and future thoughts. So I just want to speak to this last part of the sutta. I know we just have a few more minutes, but hey, y'all, wake up, you could die tomorrow. Do this ardently and relentlessly, because that's a little intense there. And I want to make sure I speak to that part of the sutta, because what I saw happen in my mind this week, and when I was working with the sutta and reading it a lot and thinking about it, was that I did have a lot of energy to investigate these aggregates. The mind just went for it. And I was noticing, like, oh, how am I identifying with my body? Oh, where am I identifying with consciousness, right? And I was looking a lot. I remember, and this happened yesterday, where I was at a yoga class, and I'm just like investigating, how am I being identified? And I'm doing this because it got so intense that I was just like, okay, whoa, too much. And I remembered once, for me, Alexa Santos was one of my teachers, and I was practicing with him a couple of years ago, and he was like, just don't investigate anymore. Just stop. And for some of us, it's like that. We get super excited that we want to see everything. We want to see it really clearly, and we can, and this is probably why I love U Tejaniya. He has this teaching of like, let it all just be natural. So we can set this beautiful intention. We can have this motivation to explore and see what's really happening. And just kind of then lean back, just know that anytime you remember about mindfulness, great, that's the moment when you're practicing. Just let it go a little. Just if this is your tendency. But I want to speak to that because those words can be a little intense, ardent, relentless. So maybe we could just hold the relentless, like just remembering all the time Just remembering all the time and doing those things that support the remembering. And what was really interesting that I noticed yesterday when I really saw that, and I was like, okay, just chill. And I was walking home, and as I was walking, there was this moment, and there was this seeing, the sun was bright, I felt too hot in my body, and there was a moment, and everything became contracted. And it was like, and I watched the mind go to make a story about it, and to like make it permanent. This means this feeling that I have means this is how I'm going to feel the whole day. I kind of watched the mind making meaning out of that. But then I was very relaxed. The mind was very relaxed, and I just saw so clearly, oh, the sun, unpleasant. Temperature in the body, unpleasant. Aversion, story. And it all let go. It was like I wasn't trying to see. I was just relaxed, and I just saw. So hold the salt lightly. Yeah. And I talked for the whole hour, so we don't have time for questions, but I will sit here and welcome your questions. But I want to honor our time. So thank you for your attention, and thank you for giving attention to the Buddha's words, this beautiful sutta. It's been offered to us, that is alive after these many thousands of years. And let us dedicate the goodness of our practice. What happens when we do this work? The Buddha never said for us to do this work in a cave and never come out. No, when we do this work, it changes how we act, how we speak, how we love. So may this practice today and this inquiry and this listening, may it be for each one of us in our journey to find freedom and clarity and compassion. May we remember that really we do it for all beings. And oh my goodness, this world is in need of healing right now. So may all of the different ways we practice, may all of that work to heal this planet and the beings who can be so confused and lost in greed and in hatred and ignorance. And may we all wake up, y'all, so that all beings can live freely, with ease, with health, with love.